We're all searching for it, or people. The ones you can call when you're at the end of your rope. The ones you ask for advice in a difficult stage or deciding on which jeans to buy. The ones who you share dreams and hopes with, who get you to the gym and love your kids like their own. Motherhood was never meant to be a solitary role, and now it doesn't need to be. Here we discuss everything from our favorite kidisms to mental wellness to our best mom hacks and more. Mamas are world changers, and it's time to stop bearing that responsibility alone. So whether you're driving carpool, rocking a sleeping baby, or doing dishes, we're here for you. Welcome to the village.
Welcome to episode 21 of the Village Podcast. I'm your host, Missy Allred, and today we're doing another mom chat, and I have my friend Austyn with me today. Austyn, will you tell us a little bit about you, what your life looks like right now, motherhood, all the things?
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. My name is Austyn. I currently am a pediatric sleep consultant, and I have my bachelor's degree in recreational therapy, so that's kind of like what I did before becoming a mom. My husband is in medical residency, so we live in New York City by ourselves, away from family, and then I have a almost 3-year-old daughter. I know, yeah.
That's crazy.
I've just barely started saying almost 3 because it just feels so wrong. Like, no, she's still 2, but she's over 2 3/4, so I feel like it's close. Getting to the point of like almost 3. So yeah, and that's about it. What else?
Oh my goodness, what else? You have your business too.
Yes.
That you do on the side.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I'm a pediatric sleep consultant, and I just started doing that last summer. And that's been a fun and wild ride, like starting any business and using Instagram can be. I feel like I'm just always trying to find that balance of like time towards my business and on Instagram versus like time with my daughter and my family and my house and like all the things. It's just kind of a slow and steady process, and I'm trying to be okay with that because that's what I have to give to it.
Yeah.
But I love the little bits of time that I have to work with moms, and mostly moms, with their kids' sleep and getting them sleeping better, so that mom can sleep better, because when mom sleeps better, everyone does better. And then especially, like, I love play, like recreation is a big, I guess, passion, something I care about, so like being able to get the rest that you need so that you can have fun.
Yes.
Because it's hard to have fun when you're tired. Like the days that I don't sleep well or I stay up too late, like I'm not giving my daughter the attention and fun that she deserves because I just want to be on the couch all day, kind of thing. So that's something that I feel like sleep is the first solution to so many problems, and so that's, I guess, why I went into that, to make sure that was, your mental health is better, your physical health is better, your emotional, everything is better when you get at least decent sleep.
Yeah. So, totally. 100%.
Yeah. So that's kind of, why there, because I think that if we can help moms, then we can, heal generations to come. So that's kind of where, I guess, what led me to that.
Yes. Okay, that's so interesting, because I feel like that's partly why I'm drawn to moms, is the same thing. Like, you heal moms and you heal generations, like we said, because it's the moms then teaching their kids, and the kids grow up with these tools, and then they teach. And just so funny that's like, that's why you do moms, and we have like such a different approach to working with moms, but that's like,
I feel like
totally
there's so
the focus.
Many, like, that's been like, I guess, like my theme of like, as I've gone back and forth on so many different like interesting careers, it's always circled around, because like when I first started, like I still have potentially like want to go to grad school to become a therapist, and at first I was like, oh, I want to work with kids, and then I was like, oh, I want to work with adolescents, and then it just like keeps switching. It's like, well, if I can work with moms and like help moms heal, then hopefully like their kids won't need to heal in the same capacity. Obviously, we're always going to have things like therapists are never going to be obsolete, but like the hope that like we need them less, because there's less of the like little traumas or things that need to be fixed.
Because the tools are dispersed and they have them and can utilize them, and the kids see them, and that just becomes part of their nature and so on.
Yes, absolutely. So that's, I think, kind of where I've now settled with. I'm like, okay, if I can work, especially with like young moms, and helping them feel better in their motherhood, especially because I feel like obviously I don't have experience with older kids, but just like from what I've seen and talked to with older, like parents of older kids, like the toddler years are some of the like hardest and like most like emotionally, mentally, physically taxing and draining. And so to be able to like especially work on that and help moms keep up and work on their mental health and just their overall, I guess, health and helping them have the tools that they need and then helping their kids learn those tools. Just, I think, is life-changing and I think world-changing, or at least that's my hope. So yes.
Oh, I love it. I know the toddler years are, I don't know, and then people are like, it's just different now, and I'm like, okay, I can see that, but let me have my heart.
Yes, but like,
it is exhausting, but also I think it's so important because if you can get those toddler moms when they are, it's every kind of exhaustion, which means that you are like you're at your max all the time. You're kind of on that border of losing it all the time. And so you teach the moms that and you keep them in a healthier state. And then you also get the kids when they're at their most vulnerable isn't the right word, but oh my goodness, I can't think of the word. Like
most susceptible to learning?
Yes, exactly. And like, I mean, if you can teach moms, like obviously you can teach, I mean, teenagers are kind of their own thing, but like, but if you can get them when they're little and pliable and still like in the middle of learning everything, then that just becomes like so much more their nature.
Yes.
And I think that's
I just
so powerful.
imagine like how much easier will the teenage years be if we've already set a really good foundation? Which I guess that's kind of what I talk about, like with sleep. Like, you set a good foundation in the newborn months, and then it's going to get, like, that sets the stage for better sleep as they get older. And just, like, you work little by little with your kids as they, like, get older. And so hopefully, like, through those toddler years, you've taught them some good stuff. And, they haven't mastered their deep breathing, but they're getting there so that by the time they are a teenager, they know, like, okay, I'm feeling this, so I'm going to do these things that I've been practicing for years and years and years. Because it's just second nature
at that point, instead of, like, having to consciously... Part of the thing with teenagers is their problem solving is, like, non-existent. Almost more so than when they're little, just because of everything going on. It's such a transitional time in their brains that they don't have the capacity to problem solve for the most part because there's so many other things going on. So if we can get them practice when they're little and have this be muscle memory at that point of like, oh, I'm feeling this in my body, I must be feeling this emotion. All right, I'm gonna sit with this. I know what to like, and just it's just what they do, and it's second nature. They don't have to think about it. I can't even imagine how my teenage years would have been if I knew any of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of, I think, especially going back to the, like, starting with moms and young kids, is like hopefully that's the goal, is to set that foundation, set that that it's not this new concept, that it's something that they're already familiar with and they know what to do. So it's just like continual learning rather than like throwing it all at them at once. Which is sometimes what it feels like.
Totally.
So I just love, I guess, the idea of just start as early as possible. Like, I think I can't remember where it was on Instagram, but someone just said, like, don't, like, I guess I think it was like with chores, and it was like, if you eventually want your child to be able to do Y, then start with X. Don't like completely change it. So like when it comes to like finishing dinner, like if you want them to eventually be able to put their plate in the dishwasher, like just have them start immediately with whatever they're capable of doing. So that that's maybe they can only take their fork to the sink at the time, or they can only put it in the dishwasher. So that like by the time they're a teenager, they just know after dinner I immediately clear my plate. Like I put it in the dishwasher, so that you're not having to nag them about it. Like it's just something that's always done. That's also something I do with like sleep and just like little things that it's like, if you're going to want them to do something later, what can you do now to kind of teach that and work towards it, rather than like having to change something later, because it's easier to like start doing something the right way.
And it's definitely like a begin with the end in mind.
Yes,
like you have to think big picture, because it is so much more effort to help your kids regulate their emotions, to let them help you with all the things. It's so much more 100%. It's so much more effort in the moment, but I want my kids to be doing their own laundry and to be cooking their own food and to be preparing meals as a teenager for the whole family and not getting to, I don't know, like my mom always told me about this roommate she had in college where she got there and she didn't know how to cook. She didn't know how to start a dishwasher. She didn't know how to wash her clothes. She didn't know how to, like, what to use to clean a bathroom. And I was like, I just feel so bad for her.
Yes.
Because she's going out, like, and everyone's going to judge her because you don't know what you're doing. But, like, if you weren't taught, like, how would you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's, like you said, it's so much easier. I would so much rather teach my kids little and put in the time and effort and patience to do that so that, and I think they're so much more capable than we think they are. Like, I saw this video, I don't know, a few months ago, and it was like this 2-year-old cooking their own eggs.
Okay, yes, I've seen things like that.
I was like, I have a 5-year-old.
Yes.
Why am I not letting him make breakfast? And then I'm like, oh, I know why I'm not.
I'm
but
like,
we're starting to. I'm letting them do a little bit more. And I think part of this is like letting them fail.
Yes. Yeah.
Which means letting them make a mess.
Yes.
And then teaching them how to clean it.
Yes. I've like thought of the eggs, but I'm like, I'm not ready for the eggshells. That's where I'm at. So like maybe I just need to start by cracking the eggs myself, and then
Yes.
But
well, and like sometimes I'm like, okay, this food is for other people. I'm not doing the eggshells out. Like, if it's for you, go for it.
Crunchy eggs are great. No, I've seen like certain things, and I'm like, oh man, like, and I think obviously like not, because sometimes I think that like makes me feel guilty. It's like, oh, I'm not doing it, but like we all have our different things, and I think just like leaning into that and letting our kids do and just seeing what they're capable of. One, because it's like so cool just to see like what they can do and what they can figure out. Obviously, like, from a safe distance, whatever their age is, whatever they're like where they're at, but just this like believing that they're capable, because they are, and in so many ways, and like letting them surprise us. And I feel like that just like makes a huge. It's just like I don't know. I imagine that it like feels so empowering for them, because I know like when I'm like able to accomplish something and like someone believes in me, like that's empowering to be like, yeah, I did that. And maybe like now it's like not empowering to be like, oh yeah, I can make scrambled eggs. But like for a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, like absolutely, that's amazing.
Oh yeah.
And so cool. And just this, like little things like that I've like seen just with my daughter, like as she's like figuring out new things, when she like went across this rope bridge for the first time at the playground, just like the look of excitement on her face and like jumping up and down excited because she did it, and she's like, I did it, and like I guess giving more opportunities for that is amazing, even if it is going to cause like a little bit more like mess or cleanup and like work on my part, but it really is just like amazing to see that, and just to see how much they grow, because I truly believe they are so much more capable than we give them credit for.
Oh, totally.
Most of the time.
Totally. We do little affirmations with my boys, and some of them are like, I can do hard things. I work hard. I keep trying. And I'm trying to ingrain this in them, but I don't always let them test that out and see that, okay, I really can do hard things. I really can get it if I keep trying, and that's really what builds confidence, is being able for them to see that they can figure it out. Like, that is where confidence is knowing I can do this. I can figure this out. It is all figure outable, and I will get there if I keep at it, but I don't let them do that so much.
Well, it's hard. And again, it's just this like little like bit by bit, and also like as adults, like we're unlearning a lot of things, because there are probably times in our childhood where we weren't allowed to do things like that because it made a bigger mess, or that just like wasn't the style of parenting at the time. And so I think like part of that is just like relearning, and also just like recognizing that like it's a lot of work to do it. And so, kind of balancing out like, okay, do I have the emotional bandwidth for this today? So I think like it's totally normal to, have days where it's like, oh, like, yes, this is what I want you to learn, but there are going to be days where like that's harder, I guess, to actually work on, to actually do, to let go of the reins a little bit and let them have some control.
Well, I think starting with like, what are they interested in? What are they, Mom, can I help you with the bathroom. Can I help you with cleaning? Like, what are they asking? And just starting there, because they also don't have the capacity to, all right, let's have you clean the bathroom, and you're going to clean your room, and you're going to do you're going to do your dishes, and you're going to do the laundry, and you're going to cook. And they're kind of like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, one thing at a time, and just start with what they're interested in, and it will kind of naturally build into all the things. Because my 5-year-old does not need to take care of himself yet.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot that he can do. And I think helping them, I don't know, I'm already seeing little things where I ask them to do something and it's too hard. I don't want to do it. You're getting bigger. Part of that is having responsibility. I don't like that. Like,
same.
Yes. But also I need you to learn that.
Yeah.
And I would rather, and I would rather that they understood that at 5 rather than trying to teach the lesson of like, you need responsibility at 15, exactly.
Yes.
5 is way easier.
Yes, absolutely. A little less attitude. Well, I guess maybe.
Probably yes, but
5
has been an adventure in the attitude talking back department. I've been shocked.
I bet. I feel like there's like a big jump, like from 4 to 5 of that like awareness development. Like, wait, no, I have opinions and they matter. And I'm going to test.
It has taken me by surprise. Yeah. For reals. I was not prepared for that.
Oh, that's so hard. Oh, yeah. But, no, I love just like playing into their strengths. So, like, just thinking, like, I don't know. It's like, I guess, like, for me, it's like if someone's like, hey, go do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I'm like, no. And I shut down immediately. Yeah. So, like, that's overwhelming. That's a lot. Like, trying to figure it out. But, like, when I go to clean the bathroom, my daughter always runs in and wants to scrub the bathtub with me. And so it's like, absolutely I'm going to do a more thorough, quicker job, but like letting her have the opportunity because she's willing to. So especially when they're younger and like willing and wanting, like do it so that hopefully when they're older, they don't have the like, oh, it's a chore. It's, it's something. It's like, oh no, I did this with mom and it was fun to do it with her. So it's maybe not as fun, but still not like something that they dread. I guess that it's something, they're like, okay, yes, I'm playing my part. I'm contributing to this family because I'm an important member of it.
And at their age, it probably literally is playing a part. Like, oh, it's real life house.
Yes,
right? We played house as a kid. I just want to be a mom. And here's my babies, and my boys play puppies and dads.
Yes,
it's so funny, but it's so interesting to watch them playing out what my husband and I do.
Yes, that's
in play, right? They literally are playing it out, and so I guess that is maybe a helpful way to approach it. Of we're gonna play house, and part of house is we have to clean up, and letting it be a game for them, so it's not this. We have to work now before we can play. Like, why can't it be both?
Yeah. I was thinking of a story I heard probably on Instagram where it's just like this little girl. She was playing like house cleaner or whatever, and she was, you hired a housekeeper, and she came in and cleaned the house, and it was then like the mom was saying that she like heard this her daughter's like whole life story while she was cleaning the house, and she had like created this character that was just trying to get by cleaning houses and stuff like that, and it was play, like it was fun for her.
And the house got clean. So,
exactly.
Ultimate mom hack.
Yes, for real. Like, holding on to that one. Hopefully it comes in handy soon. But, absolutely can be play and can be, like, fun for the kids. But, it can be hard to, like, let go and let them help.
Yeah, it's a lot because it is so much more on you at that moment. Yes. So, long game. We're playing the long game here.
Yes, absolutely. Something that you said earlier was just this, like, reminding of, like, the long game of, like, if we want our kids to be resilient, if we want them to have these skills when they're older, we need to give them the opportunities to try again, to get back up when they fall and things like that. And that's, those are the building blocks for these greater, bigger strengths of, yes, like, it's not a huge deal right now, like, getting eggshells in your eggs. That's such a small thing compared to other things, but like learning to crack that egg over and over until they can crack it without getting shells in it, teaches them to keep trying and to keep going. So
and learning what to do when they do mess
when
up.
They do mess up.
To go, okay, you got eggs or you got shells in there.
Yeah. What can we do to clean it out? What can we do better to crack the egg better the next time?
Yeah.
And just this like, I guess I like the like shifting, like we're not failing, it's just another opportunity to learn kind of thing. Because I think, I don't know, failing just feels so like permanent and negative, and like very few times are there actually things that like we fail at that are like monumental, life changing kind of thing. That like most of the time, like the times when we're like, oh, I'm a failure, it's like, no, actually, I just need to try it again a different way. Yeah. And
I feel like even the people who have had quote unquote monumental failures that were life changing, they were life changing. Yeah. Right? Yeah. They were, I heard a coach say, you either get the result that you wanted or the lesson that you needed. Yeah. And I was like, yes. That's so much, that's just such a more positive way to look at things, and I think more accurate too. And again, going back to like that confidence piece of like, it's learning that everything is figure outable, and I'm going to have way more confidence when I know what to do when I don't get it right. Yes. Than if I got it right every time.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like there's so much more learning in the failing than getting it right, because I don't know, I guess I just kind of think back like high school. Like I feel like I coasted through high school. I just like naturally did well, and I really didn't have to like put in a whole lot of work to do that. And then I get to college and it was a complete opposite story, and realizing that like I didn't have any of the skills because I just was like naturally decent in high school, but college is a completely different story. And so just like, but realizing like I learned a lot more because I had to like put in a lot more work and energy and to be better at it. And I think like, obviously, like, was it like more painful? Absolutely. But like I definitely learned more and got more out of it. I grew more because of those experiences than I did in high school. Like I couldn't tell you anything really important that I learned in high school, or like college. I could tell you a lot of things from all of my classes because I had to like put myself in it and keep trying, even when I got an upsetting grade. And
high school, I feel like I was similar, but I stressed so much about any failure. Yeah. Like
it felt so much bigger than too.
It did. It felt huge. Okay, so Austin and I went to the same high school, so we've known each other for a long time. So, did you have Miss Sisson ever?
Oh, for math.
For math, no, yeah. No, okay, so there was one day I like got like a 96% on a calculus test, and I was like, okay, I need to know like what I did wrong, like where.
Wow, we were.
And part of me is like, no, this is good, like. To still see in the other part of me is like, no, I was way too serious about it. And I freaked out. She looked at me and she was like, no, you are going to struggle in college if you're going to nitpick about this so much. So I'm not even going to tell you. And I was like, okay. But it stuck with me though, where I was like, okay, I need to chill. If she's telling me to chill, like, I probably really do need to. And then I got to college and I was like, that was excellent.
I wish I could get a 96.
Seriously, because I didn't.
Yeah, no.
But it really was like the best advice of like, it's fine. Yeah. And it really was this like, let yourself fail. Yeah. It's okay. Yes. So, shout out to Miss Smith.
Yes. Never had her, but I heard amazing things.
She was the best. I heard her 2 years in a row and loved her. She was so cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, I feel like that's such a, you really do learn from, like, hopefully the goal is that you learn from those failures. Yeah. Because I guess you could let the failures, like, wreck you and ruin everything. Yeah. Or you can take that and be like, you know what, okay, here's things I can do differently. Here's things that didn't work or things that did work. And kind of running with that and hoping that next time, because you know a little bit more, that you can do better or figure out more, or, you know, using that, I guess, just to get you back onto the trajectory that you want or something like that.
Yeah. And again, going back to your kids of giving them the opportunity to fail so that they let it be okay that they failed and knowing what to do, and instead of like, you know, being like me where it was like, no, you need to be okay with failure because it's going to happen. Like, buckle up, sister. Yes.
Yeah, that kind of makes me think of, I'm just going to call my husband out a little bit and maybe my in-laws a little bit. But, like, So I was a choir theater kid in high school. My husband was not. He was on the cross-country team, like captain, state, whatever, but he did take choir because he had to have the arts credit.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So
Totally.
I think it was his senior year, he took choir, and he missed a concert because he had, like, cross-country state. And, of course, he was, like, the top runner in this or the state, so, of course, he was going to miss his concert for that, but he didn't tell his teacher. Oh, no. And, again, because I was a choir kid, like, missing a concert was, like, the worst thing you could do.
Oh, yeah.
And especially because our teacher. Shout out to our teacher. He's incredible. I love him so much. He was very intense with that and making sure that, like, you attended. But he also was, like, understanding that, like, there are things, yes, you might miss. I mean, a concert is essentially your test in, like, music classes. So, like, you wouldn't miss a test. But, you know, it's like, if there's some circumstance, come talk to me. And so my husband didn't do that. Didn't talk to his teacher, and then, you know, when he has an F in choir, his parents went and talked to his teacher. And that, like, again, just went against everything that I believed in at that point. I was like, absolutely not. You were an 18-year-old kid. You could have, like, gone to talk to your teacher and explain what happened. That was... And so I was like, and that was something I learned. I don't know if we were married yet or if we were just still dating, but I was like, just so you know, like, our kids will not do that. Like, one, they will talk to their teacher beforehand. Two, like, I mean, it might be up in the air on, like, if they're going to miss their concert for a track meet, but, like, you know, they're going to talk to their teacher beforehand, and they're going to do it. Like, will I be there to support them? Yes. Like, do we need, like, if they need help, like, talking through it beforehand, but, like, that's something that I want my kids to do. Yeah. And so that's something that, like, has stuck with me for so long. I'm like, no, sorry, you're in the wrong, Steven. Like, you should have talked to your teacher. And so that's, I guess, just, like, again, like, that empowering, letting them do those things. Because, yeah, it's not comfortable. Like, again, with choir, I remember one time I had to leave class early, which was against the rules. Yeah. And I knew that he hated having announcements go over and interrupt class. So I told him before, I was like, hey, I have a dentist appointment, which my teacher didn't believe in, like, go to dentist appointments after school, but it was an emergency one. And so it was my only, like, option because I had a broken tooth. And so he was like, nope. And I was like, my tooth is broken. He's like, oh yeah, you go. Like, and so I was like, hey, I just want to leave class so it doesn't interrupt. Like, I'll just sneak out. My dad's coming at 10:20. I'll leave at 10:15, you know. So that, like, just that, like, I don't know, I just feel like that's something that a 17, 18-year-old can do. And so, again, just, like, those things that, like, giving your kids teaching them that young so that they feel confident and comfortable talking about those things or those difficult things and just, like, being like, yeah, well, it wasn't fun to have my teacher be like, nope, until I got to the important part. But, like, it was important and it, like, I feel like just, like, a little building block in the, like, having difficult conversations, especially with, you know, superiors, managers at work, things like that, that makes it just a little bit easier because I had this experience with, you know, someone that I looked up to, but also was a little scared of. So.
That about sums it up. But I love that because it definitely is a developmental thing. And if we're not starting small, when it feels big to those little people, but to us it's like, oh, that's no big deal. Yeah. By the time they get to the stuff that is important, when it's jobs and when it affects so much more than just them. Yeah. If they don't have those building blocks, those conversations become incredibly difficult and scary, and they avoid them because they're scared of failing. Yes. Like, I remember my mom as a kid would make us, like, order our own food at a restaurant, or, like, if, like, I remember this one time at Wendy's, I, like, hated talking to people. I still, like, phone calls.
Oh, the worst.
But only if it's, like, I mean, like, I could call you up and just chat. It would be fine. Yeah. But, making like, a bill or something, the worst. Yes. I hate it. I still, like, have to, like, put myself up to do it. Oh my gosh, I don't know why it's so hard. Yeah. Like, I just struggle with it. But I remember being terrified of it as a kid and just talking to, really asking for what I need. Interesting. Yeah. Still struggle with that a little bit.
Common themes.
Ooh, yeah, okay. But she made me, like, go up in a Wendy's. I needed, like, another spoon or something like that. Or, like, more, I don't know, barbecue sauce, something like that. Had to go up to the counter and ask, and I was like, I can't do it. It was like having this breakdown. She was like, no, you were going to go up there, and it was, like, traumatic for me, but also because, like, I remember this. I was probably, like, 8, maybe. Like, it was a long time ago, and still, like, vivid memory, like, all feelings coming back. But also, it was like, okay, I can't do that. That was freaking terrifying, and I did not like it, but I did it.
Yeah.
And so, if I could do that, little 8-year-old Missy could do that.
Yes.
20 whatever-year-old Missy can make the stupid phone call.
Yes.
It's gonna be okay.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel like that like just goes with like different types of therapy where it's like your building blocks. You're using like your experience. I'm not like forgetting the exact term, but just that like proving to yourself like, okay, I've done this before. This isn't the exact same, but here's some similar principles that I can pull from it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, okay, calling your insurance is definitely a bigger deal than asking for more barbecue sauce, but like, you know, relative to your age and your experience, like that is a big deal, and there's you know, some things that you can pull from that, and like, you know, other experiences that you've had since then. And I feel like that's again things that like our kids, giving them those opportunities to build those little by little build those skills.
Yeah, layer by layer doing it, and starting with those very inconsequential things, but also being able to see it from their perspective of them not getting the toy they want when they want it is really hard, and it's so disappointing. And man, when something doesn't go my way and I don't get what I want when I want it, obviously it's not like a toy, like that doesn't feel like a big deal to me, but like the things that are on my level right now do feel like a big deal. When it's, I don't know, I can't even think of something off the top of my head. I don't know, something like you don't get the raise you want when you want it, or you don't, I don't know, I can't
opportunity,
whatever it is right now, that does feel like a big deal. And so being able to see it from our kids' perspective of like, disappointment is disappointment.
Yes.
Frustration is frustration, no matter what level you're at, because to them it is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because they're at level 2 and you're at level 17.
Yes.
And so it feels different, and they have to build it up to your level.
Yeah.
And they'll eventually get there.
Yeah, I like the like disappointment is disappointment. Like the feelings that our kids have as kids, as we had kids, like it's the same feelings of disappointment, of anger, of frustration. We just have different things that trigger that now. Because not getting the toy that we want, we're old enough, we've had enough experience to be like, you know what, that's okay. I can wait my turn. Like, because we have that experience where, you know, it is bigger things or different things that like, you know, trigger those feelings and emotions. But I imagine they're pretty much the same, that those feelings have felt very similar to us all throughout our life.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, emotions are universal in that, like, you know, in every country, in every language, like, facial expressions look the same.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like, happy is happy and mad is mad. And, like, even, like, just thinking, like, my toddler picks up on that, and she's 2. And, like, it's not like I show her, like, okay, this is a mad face, this is a happy face. Like, she just, like, picks up on those things because those are just, like, universal. Emotions are universal. And, so yeah, just like giving them those opportunities when they're young and validating that. I mean, like, that is really hard, that you can't have the toy that you want. And there's going to be times, you know, as we get older, we're not going to be able to get the car that we want or the house that we want because it takes time, and you know, sometimes it takes more than time. And so, you know, learning those things when it is, at least, you know, in the grand scheme of things, inconsequential. You know, allowing that space and that time for them to learn it. Makes it easier to cope with. Yeah,
being able to say, like, I've been there too. I mean, maybe I was there yesterday in my own level of things, but like, I felt that yesterday. Yeah. Or you're feeling frustrated about this.
Me
buddy,
too.
So am I.
Like, I am also mad that we don't get to go get ice cream. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just being able to take that. I think in some ways we, like we talked about earlier, our toddlers are more capable. Our littles in general are more capable than we give them credit for. And in other ways, we try to, we expect too much of them, especially when it comes to big emotions. Like, I saw something and it sticks with me. And if I could remember it on these days, I'm like, okay, that's like exactly what I need to shift my perspective. But it was like, adults can have bad days, but we don't let little kids have bad days. Yeah. And I was like, sometimes I just like wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and I could not tell you what is going on, but I'm just
not
moody.
It,
Yes. But if my toddler has one day like that, I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, use your words.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I feel like it can be so easy. It's like, because it's like, what ails you? Like, what worries, what responsibilities do you have as a 3-year-old? And it can be
Your
so
life
easy
is
to
cush.
like, I feed you, I clothe you, I have, like, everything that you could ever want, you have. And so it can be so easy to be like, no, like, why are you upset? Like, you get to just play all day long and eat snacks all day long. Like, what possible? But yeah, they absolutely have those same, bad days. And that, I guess, kind of like goes into other things we talked about previously, not tonight, but just that, like, recognizing, like, I guess, like, when, like, hard things happen, when a tantrum happens, it's like, okay, like, I essentially kind of have this, like, checklist that I go through. And, as a baby, I think it's really easy in, like, the newborn, early, young baby phase for most people to do. It's like, okay, baby's crying, so let's see. Are they hungry? No, I fed them. Okay, they have a clean diaper. They've been burped. Okay, are they sleepy? No, they woke up from a nap 20 minutes ago, so they're probably not tired. Okay, like, I'm going to check their socks, make sure there's not hair wrapped around their toes. Like, you go through the whole checklist. And then that's, like, something that I feel like most people are pretty good at.
Yeah.
But as then you get to toddler, and it's like, you almost forget that there's also, a lot of things that can impact how they're feeling. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that's something I try to think, okay, my daughter's having a hard time. Is she hungry? And you know what? It's been several hours since we've eaten. I bet she is. She needs a snack. Or, yeah, she's tired. She didn't really she skipped her nap today. And just, like, going through, and when I get to the end of, like, the normal list of food, sleep, water, she overstimulated, has she had enough movement, whatever. And I'm like, what if she has a headache? What if she has sore muscles? What if she's going through, like, has some growing pains? Mm-hmm. Just, like, those little things of, like, okay, I would also be having a hard time if I had a headache. Like, I get migraines often. Like, I know how that feels, so just, like, kind of trying to better understand or give, maybe I don't even know exactly what it is because I can't, maybe at this age she could start to tell me if she had a headache. But, at 18 months, they're not going to be able to tell you that. But, they're on the floor screaming their head off or something. And so just, like, recognizing, like, there are so many things that could be impacting that. Maybe they didn't get the sleep that they needed. Like, they were just restless that night, and giving a little bit more grace in that of, like, you know what, you're having a hard day. I have hard days too. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel my best every day. And that's normal. That's a normal, healthy human experience to have emotions up and down, and, like, days that you feel really good and on top of the world, and other days where you're like, I would like to stay in bed all day long. And, like, giving yourself, like, hopefully giving your kids the same grace that you hopefully give yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're not giving yourself that same grace, give yourself the same grace that you hopefully give your kids, and kind of thing that, like, because we are going to have bad days, we're going to have times where we're just not having it for no explainable reason.
Or let's just talk about we have a hormonal cycle. Yes. And so that, like, few days before my period, I am not the happiest person on earth.
Yes. I'm, like, recognizing, especially, like, for us, like, it's, I guess, maybe a little bit easier because you kind of, like, you can track your cycle. Yeah. And you can, like, recognize, like, okay, like, this could be it, and recognizing, like, on those days, like, your lower energy, lower mood, like, taking care of yourself in whatever capacity that is. If that means doing less chores or less work and having a little bit more downtime or more, something more fun for you that, brings better joy, like, and recognizing, like, oh, maybe my kids need that too. Like, maybe they need a little bit more. Maybe they do just need a snuggle on the couch day.
Yes. And
that's okay because I love snuggle on the couch days, like, and, like, sometimes I need that. Sometimes that's what, like, I really need to be able to feel better. Yeah. And there's absolutely times that, our kids might need that too.
Well, and maybe it's a connection piece of, like, they're not getting the time that they need, because when my husband and I are ships in the night and I'm feeling neglected and, like, he's not talking and paying enough attention to me, it kind of bleeds into everything.
Yeah.
And so if I'm not doing the same for my child, if, like, I was just realizing lately, my son kept being like, Mom, will you come do this with me? And I'd be like, oh, just a minute. Mm-hmm. Oh, I need to finish this up. Oh, I have to work right now. And then I, like, wouldn't get to the connection piece. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I hate that it was just, like, such a wake-up call for me of, like, okay, he's asking for connection. He knows what he needs, and I'm not giving it to him. And then he goes and throws a tantrum, and I'm like, dude, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
But I throw my own version of a tantrum when my husband's like, oh, I'll get to it, or, like, oh, I have this, or, and we spend our whole night on our phones instead of connecting, and then I'm like, you're paying attention to me, and I'm all, like, grumbly about it. And
yes.
Like, we really are the same. We just, I want to say we have more words for it, which is true to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some of this, again, comes down to we have to start with us.
Yeah.
And be able to recognize, okay, what is it that I'm feeling?
Mm-hmm.
And what am I needing? And then being able to say, hey, I need this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm asking for help and putting it out there and being able to not just express my needs, but also my wants, and learning that it's okay that I want something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that I'm worthy of having it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think, like, the difference is, like, it's almost like our kids are almost better at asking for that. Like, hey, will you come play with me? Will you, you know, whatever it is, where, like, we're more, like, grumbling under our breath that our husband didn't notice, didn't read our minds.
We ask what's wrong, and
yes.
I'm fine.
Yeah, it's like, nothing is wrong, when, like, clearly something is wrong. Like, the number of times that I do that, and by that point, like, if I've reached that point, it's because, like, I don't have the words for it anymore, because like, I'm so overwhelmed or overstimulated that part of my brain is just shut off, and I don't have the words. The same way that, like, you know, our kids ask for it, and when we keep saying no, like, oh, I can't do that, I'm doing this, whatever, like, it gets to the point of a tantrum where they no longer have the words for it, and so they're going, you know, shut down, and it's going to come out in an outburst. And I think sometimes it does feel like this, where is this coming from, when, like, there was warning signs because they asked for it. We just, you know, sometimes, and I don't want to say it's like, you know, we didn't prioritize it, because there's so many life demands that make it really hard sometimes to be able to be like, you know what, yes, okay, I can take 10 minutes to play with you, because that just, and some, you know, for various reasons that, like, it, you know, that can be really hard on lots of days, but yeah, recognizing that, like, okay, like, they're asking for what they want, that connection.
They are communicating, just not always in the way that we are expecting them to.
Yeah, and then I guess that kind of, like, makes me think of, like, just, like, early on in, like, marriage, whatever, as we were, like, kind of, like, you know, this, like, you have, like, what is he laughing?
I was already laughing, like, yep, I totally get it.
So many things, wow, if only I knew. But, like, you know, like, with, like, love languages, it's like you have your language that you receive love, that you, like, you want to receive love, and then there's, like, the way that you show love, and those can be different things, and your partners can be very different, and recognizing, like, the way that, like, because it's like, yeah, I can show my husband love in the way that I need it, but that's not going to fill him the same way as... And you're going to be
sitting there going, like, look how much I love you, love me back.
Yes. And so I think, and I absolutely see that, like, with our kids, of, like, you know, like, I've noticed, like, my daughter, I definitely think, like, physical touch is a big one for her, because I get 5,000 hugs from her a day. Like, she'll be playing just fine, and all of a sudden just, like, randomly has to come in and give me a hug, like, as a little check-in. Cute. And it's my favorite. I love it. And it's so funny that, like, I love it from her, and then, like, my husband's is definitely physical touch. Mine is not, but I'm like, no, I'm too touched out. But, like, when my daughter comes, I was like, yes, please give me more loves. But, like, just recognizing that, like, I guess being aware of, like, one, like, how we feel love, how our cup feel, like, how we want our cup filled, and recognizing, like, how our kids want theirs filled, how our husbands or our partners want them filled, and things like that. Like, being able to kind of recognize that and be willing to, I guess, show love or fill a cup in a way that isn't the way that we would want it, because that's, you know, sitting down on the floor and playing with my daughter isn't always what I want to do. I'm usually good to do it for 10 minutes, but then I'm like, all right, I am tapped out of this train track kind of thing. But, like, that's something that, like, really fills her cup. And so I guess, like, recognizing or being willing to show love in the way that might not be how you want it or what feels natural to you, but it's the way that makes them feel loved. And that's obviously, like, if you, like, that's what we want. Like, we want to show love. Absolutely, we want our kids, our partners to know that we love them. But it's going to be harder for them to feel that if it's not in the way that they receive love. So I think just, like, recognizing, taking that little bit of, like, okay, no, this is, you know, something that's going, I don't know, I'm saying that, it just got stuck, but anyway, yeah, just, like, recognizing, like, okay, this is how, at least with my daughter, like, this is how it seems like she feels love the most. Yeah. And, like, so when she is having a tantrum, a big one that I do is, like, do you want a hug or do you want space? Because she usually runs off, but she always wants a hug. And so just, like, this, like, okay, she does want a hug. And usually, like, in those moments, I usually want space. But, like, recognizing that, like, that's not what's going to help her feel better. And yes, there are definitely times where like I need to take a few seconds before I go follow her to her room that
Yeah,
she ran
of
to
course.
and slammed the door. But you know, she almost like 99% of the time says she wants a hug, and by giving her a few minutes to just like snuggle in, instantly changes her mood. And so just recognizing that, like,
because you're bringing her out of that dysregulated place
Mm-hmm.
into a place where she can actually talk and
better,
communicate, and
exactly.
a lesson can be taught, because it's not going to be taught like if you're all upset and your husband's like, you need to chill.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're sleeping in the car tonight.
Yes,
like, get out of this house. Yeah.
That's not going to work.
Yes.
And so I love that you're like, okay, because sometimes I definitely just need space, and sometimes like, no, I just need someone to give me a hug and tell me that, like, that is really hard. That's hard, and it's gonna be okay, and you've got this, and I just need someone to hold me.
Yes.
Because I'm actually still a 3-year-old.
Yes, because we are. Yes.
But I also catch myself like, okay, so my 3-year-old is like that, where if I can give him a hug for a few minutes before anything else, it is night and day difference. But there's the side of me that's like, but I'm so mad at him, but I don't want to. Yes. And I have to take the time to think rationally and be the bigger person, because I am the bigger person. and be like, no, this is the fastest way for me to get myself out of this and get him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Resolve it on both sides, both ends. And so being able to like take a breath myself and be like, okay, I'm being the bigger person because I'm the adult here, and I'm showing him how he needs help. And because, I mean, like we were talking about towards the beginning of being able to model this and practicing, like that's what we're doing, where in the moment he's forgotten that, like, I just need a hug to calm down, and then we can resolve this. Yeah. Because he's so dysregulated that part of his brain is just not there. But I have to, like, this is the best thing. Yes. It's going to be okay. Yeah. He's not trying to annoy me, even though I'm so annoyed. Yes. And just being like, hey, I can give him a hug. It's okay. And, like, I seriously have to, like, walk myself through this every time, because I'm so frustrated at him that, like, I don't want to. And yet, every time I go over myself and like, bud, did you need a hug? I just need snuggles, and he gives me a hug, and I'm like, and then by the end I'm like, okay, I'm good. Yeah. Because I needed that too. Yes. Yeah. Like it's connection and regulation on both ends. Sides. Yeah, absolutely. Which is so interesting. Yes. I love that. Just need snuggles. Yeah. I love that. I think I like kind of just like also just think, like, you know, all behavior is communication, and just like I like firmly believe that like kids under 5, maybe even older, like 99% of the time are not doing things out of malice. Like they're not trying to be mean, they're not trying to, you know, cause chaos, but like you said, you know, when they are feeling dysregulated, like that part of their brain that like tells them not to knock that cup of water over is not working, because they've already tried other things to get your attention or whatever, to communicate their need. And, or they just, you know, sometimes just don't have the capacity to communicate because they don't have the vocabulary or whatever. But like, just recognizing it, like, okay, this is them trying to communicate something. What are they trying to communicate? I don't need to lose my mind over it. I don't want to yell. Like, I'm not going to yell at them because they, you know, don't have the words or the ability to communicate what they need. So I'm like, what can I do as the adult, as the bigger person with the, like, fully formed brain and all of the experience? How can I, you know, help this small child who doesn't have all of that? And most of the time I feel like it is just kind of sitting with them for just a few minutes and just this, like, you know, breathing in, breathing out, and like those little things until they can calm down enough that their brain is kind of connected again, and they can kind of say, like, okay, this is how I'm feeling, this is what is going on, or this happened, like, whatever. And that's when you teach, not when they're losing their minds, which I have to remind myself of all the time, of like, that is going in one ear and not the other. Like, there's nothing sticking when they're absolutely not. No. When they're there. I love that you said that all behavior is communication, and I think even when there is malicious intent or like trying to annoy us, it's still communication though. It still is I'm upset and I'm going to let you know it, even if you already do.
Yes. Because I guess, like, thinking of us, like, how often do we say passive-aggressive things because we're upset, like, or, the mumbling under our breath to our husbands because they didn't, take out the trash when we wanted them to, or something like that. Like,
or straight up lying to their face of, like, I'm fine, nothing's wrong.
With, like, steam coming out your ears.
Or how many times have I wanted to, like, punch a hole in the wall because I'm so frustrated. But if my toddler did that, I would be like, are you kidding me? Control yourself.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
But I'm like, oh, I just need something right now. Give me a pillow.
Yes. So, I think, like, just, recognize it. And even, like, so then, like, the teaching aspect, I feel like that's a big thing of, like, as parents, like, we are teachers, we are coaches, we are not the referees. And so I feel like that's, I guess, something that, like, I think about a lot of, like, my role, especially, like, in these very early toddler years, like, I don't feel like there's so many, like, very many instances where, like, I need to discipline my toddler rather than I need to teach her something.
Yeah.
Because, again, I don't think that she's not doing things to try to just cause chaos. I mean, there's definitely days where it feels like she just woke up and chose chaos. Like, there's definitely days. But, like, that's usually when she just, like, every toy is out and, like, all over the place. But, and just, like, recognizing that, like, she's not doing this because she wants to be annoying. She's doing this because something's missing. There's a skill that she doesn't have. There's words that she doesn't have. And
there's a need that's not being met.
Yeah. And so taking just a few seconds, I'm always, like, surprised at how quickly, like, how little time it actually takes when I take the time to do it.
Oh my gosh. I was going to say that earlier especially with these young kids, their attention span is like 5 minutes.
So short.
So, like, they want connection, they're gonna last like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you can, okay, so it just makes me think of Bluey. I freaking love Bluey. But I see people complain like, oh, the dad is making it so hard to live up to. I'm like, guys, they are 7-minute episodes. Have you been with the toddler? That is their attention span. Yes. That's all they last. And then they'll move on. It's fine.
Yes.
But I have to remind myself that too, because I'm like, oh, it's going to take forever. But 5 minutes makes all the difference because then they moved on to something else anyways, and you're free to go finish the dishes or, whatever it is.
Yeah, so there's this, like, there's a reel I saw on Instagram of just this, like, dad telling this story, and it, like, really illustrates just something that I feel so strongly about. Like, so I think for whatever reason, maybe, like, his wife wasn't there, and she usually did carpool, so he was on kid duty that morning. Had to get like, maybe, like, a 4-year-old and then, like, a baby ready for daycare, preschool, and he had to get to work, so he's, like, trying to hurry, and he wakes up, and his son wanted something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he just wanted, essentially, connection for a few minutes. Maybe it was, like, he wanted to read a book or whatever, and dad's like, we can't do that right now. We need to get ready for school. We got to get going, whatever. And that kid just dragged his feet the entire morning as he's, like, trying to get him out the door, and he's just irritable and, like, annoyed, and so then dad is feeling frustrated because why are you dragging your feet? Why won't you just get your shoes on? Like, you do this every morning, what's going on? And takes forever to even get him in the car, and then he's just frazzled and just, like, starts his whole day, off on the wrong foot. And he's like, I realized, had I just taken the second, like, the few minutes to do that little connection of what he asked for, that would have changed the entire morning. He would have got his, like, dressed willingly without dragging his feet. He would have gone straight to the car instead of, like, whatever it is that toddlers do to get to the car. And I just feel like so many times, like, if we, work with our kids, work with, whatever, it's going to take just a few minutes. And in the moment, that can be hard to remember.
Yeah.
But just, like, if you take that few minutes to meet your child's needs, those little ones that the connection needs, the whatever, the energy, attention needs kind of thing, like, that's going to make such a big difference. Like, and I think with, like, trying to get your kid to play independently, like, if you sit on the ground and play with them for 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to get a lot more than that of them playing by themselves once you step away. And so just kind of, like, meeting that and giving them those few minutes because, again, their attention span is so short. So, like, they're not asking you to drop everything for 2 hours to play with them. Like, they just want 3 minutes of your time and your attention, and then they're good for a little bit. And, recognizing those, I guess, and taking that time to fill their cups. Like, their cups are little. They don't need a whole lot.
Yeah.
So taking just, like, that little bit of time really does, like, pay off in so many other ways and makes things go so much smoother. And yeah.
Yeah. You're probably saving time.
Yes.
And if not, you're like, with your example of this kid going to school, if he's going to school with his needs met, how different is his day at least going to start?
Yeah.
If his needs are met versus if he's grumbling the whole way and grumbling the way to school and starting his school day off that way, where you taking the time to fill his needs may have put you late to school still at the same time, but going in with a completely different frame of mind.
Yeah. And you're like, especially in that example, like the kid is going to be in a better place to learn and to interact with his classmates better. And there's so many ways that, and then the dad getting to work, like he's going to be in a better place to start his day at work instead of like, oh, that morning was awful, like this sucks, and like taking an hour to like reset and get into like, work mode because he's still, worrying about.
I was just talking to some people about this today, and we were talking about not rushing and just letting it be what it is. And I was like, guys, I am late to church every week.
Oh, every week.
Every week. One day. No, even when it was just the two of us before we had kids, we were late every week. But when I rush, which truly is most weeks, like I am trying so hard to be conscious of this. But when I rush, I personally usually take longer because I'm like running around the door and I like hit my elbow. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then my bag spills and I'm still running late to church, where if I had just like slowed down, I probably would get there at the same time. But I'm getting to church frustrated and angry and hello, I'm going to church. Like I'm trying to feel the spirit here. And I'm not going to. I'm not going to be in a place to do it where if I had slowed down and not necessarily taken my time, but taken my time to just get there when we get there, we probably would walk in at the exact same time. There would be less anger, and the Spirit's going to be there. Because, of course it is, because I'm not angry and frustrated and, turning away from everyone like, I can't even look at you right now. Like it makes such a difference where we think that we're saving time when we're either spending the same amount or losing time. And then not wasting, that's not the right word, but wasting time as we get there because we have to take the time then to, we could have gone from like, we're having to come down from anger or frustration or one of these like higher emotions instead of like, I don't know, I can't think of something lower, but something lower that like it's going to be way easier to come down from a little bit annoyed than like livid. Yes.
Yeah, I think of like, just like with like kids, like, going to Target with my daughter, she always wants to walk through all the toys, which like most of the time is fine. Sometimes it's not. And there's like, when I'm there, when it's like just me and my daughter, we're good. And I'm usually like, able to sit, but my husband's not always that way. And so he's like, hey, it's time to go, like, put the toy back. And she pushes back on that, understandably. And so sometimes I'm not, like, trying to call him out, but just, I work with her all day long. So I just have more practice and more exposure to that of, like, giving her, like, instead of, like, forcing her to be like, hey, no, we're putting the toy back now and we're going. And then, like, that might be faster, but I'm now going to have to deal with a tantrum the rest of the way out, which doesn't feel good. For any of it, like anyone in the store.
And it's draining my battery.
It's so draining. Where if I take just a minute or two to be like, hey, we're gonna put the toy back. It's time to go. Like, reminding her, like, hey, the toy goes on the shelf. Like she usually is like, okay, bye toys, and walks away just fine. Whereas when I'm like, hey, we gotta go. Like just put it back. Like here's the demand. You better follow through in the next 30 seconds, kind of thing. It completely changes. And so recognizing, I guess, like. For me, like, I value my time and my energy at a very high rate, more than I probably should in, like, a monetary sense. But, like, if I spend 3 minutes to help my daughter know, like, hey, it's time to put the toy back, it's time to move on to the next thing, she's a lot more willing. We both have a much better attitude the rest of the day. We leave Target without a drained battery. because we took just a few minutes to make that an easier transition, to meet her where she's at, to make it, you know, maybe a little bit more of a teaching moment, like, hey, we're putting toys back because we're not taking them home today, and it's time to say goodbye and move to the next spot kind of thing. And it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Compared to the, like, because I just, you know, I see my husband gets frustrated, and I'm like, hey, let's take a deep breath. She's 3. It's putting toys back is going to be hard, and that's okay. And not recognizing, obviously, it's not always perfect when I do that. Like, there's definitely still pushback. But more often than not, it ends up being a much easier transition because I've spent a few minutes to meet her where she's at.
I love what you said about, like, your time and energy expenditure, where I think sometimes our automatic is time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to save time. But honestly, my energy is more important, because when I have more energy, my time is exponential.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Like, I feel like I'm able to accomplish more in the same amount of time when I have, you know, when I'm
at a full battery.
Yes.
But if I'm drained because I was trying to save time and now my energy is at 0, like, I still have to get through the rest of the day, or at least to a point where, like, I have a break and can recharge. But in the meantime, like, I'm at 0 or close to it, where if I had taken the time to preserve my energy and use more of the time, I can keep going for so much longer.
Yes.
I'm in a better place. My kids are in a better place, which also helps me in a better be in a better place, which helps them be in a better. Like, it's so
circular,
yes,
so connected. Yes. Just thinking, because it's that I think just like the mental space that it takes up to, I guess, like, be upset, to be rushed, to be frustrated. Like, that takes up so much more mental real estate than it does to be calm and happy. And so, like, I guess giving myself, like, try working towards that, like, as much as possible. Obviously, there's things outside of your control that are going to make that. And frustration those are all good and, like, emotions you need to feel. But a lot, like, giving more, I guess, setting up more opportunities for me to choose the calmer, happier route than, like, the quicker route. Because, it's never, I feel like the rest of your day just kind of gets shot down when you have to deal with a tantrum going outside the store kind of thing, and it takes a lot longer to reset from that.
It takes a lot more energy to do that too. We're like, you're already low on that, where if we focused on how much mental energy is this going to take, I think that would actually change everything if that was way more our focus than than anything else. Of, let me preserve my mental capacity, because I don't know, like, there's just so many things that don't truly matter, but they take up so much real estate in our brain.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely, like, feel out just this, like, especially, like, when it comes to, like, other things outside of, like, home and family. It's like, you know, this is, like, my primary responsibility, where I want my energy and emotional capacity to go, is to my daughter and my like, marriage. And so that's, like, for me, like, the priority. And if something else is going to take from that, and I guess take it away from, you know, the things that are in my top priority list, then it's not worth it. And so I guess, like, for me, like, you know, getting out of Target quicker is not, with a tantrum, is not worth it to me than, like, spending an extra 20 minutes because, you know, I wanted it to be a smoother transition out of the store or something like that. And it really just, I guess, huge difference in choosing that and deciding, like, hey, no, I'm going to do this to the best of my ability. Obviously, you can't control your child and how they respond to that, but doing your best to keep, I guess, kind of that more calm mindset makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's the perfect place to end. Okay, I forgot to warn you about this, I think, but I always ask everyone, what is, like, a magic in the mundane little moment that you experienced lately with your daughter?
Yes. Oh, man, so many. One of my favorite things right now is she'll, like, jabber on about something, and I usually don't catch most of what she says, but and she goes, "Okay, Mom," and I'm like, I don't know what I'm agreeing to here. Like, can you repeat that for me? And like, she just goes, and she like talks with her hands and tips her head, and she's like, "Okay, Mom." Like, so that's one of my favorites. It's just this like, "Okay, Mom," like. So I feel like every week there's like a new phrase that she says that I just love. And I think part of that goes back to just like a year ago we were concerned about her speech, and so just seeing how much like it's grown since then.
You're like extra aware of it, and it's extra special.
Like this weekend, my daughter is not like, she's a slow to warm up to people. We don't spend a lot of time with big crowds, which is like odd because we live in New York City and she loves being in the city, but anywhere else she doesn't like large groups of people. And so we were down in St. George on a hike, and she wanted me to pick her up, and I was like, I do not want to hold you while we're hiking, and this is an easy hike, you can do it. And I was just like, hey, like, are you, like, or do your feet hurt? Are you just nervous because of all these people? And then all of a sudden, she now says, I'm feeling nervous because of all these people. So it was backfired. I don't know if, like, if she actually feels nervous, or if she just now knows that, like, if she says that, I will pick her up. But that's, like, a new phrase that she's just learned in the last few days, and she said it again today while we were visiting BYU, and class got out, and she was like, Mommy, hold me. I'm nervous because of all these people. And I was like, I mean, same, but like, come on. So anyway, just like those little things that she says are my favorite.
And I'm sure coming from like her little voice, it's like extra cute.
Seriously, I'm like, okay, wait, I'm nervous because of all these people, and a little, 3-year-old voice is just the best. So yeah, I think just like those little things that she says are always some of my favorites.
I love it so much. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. It was so much fun.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on this week's episode. I would love to hear your thoughts on it, so message me on Instagram @TheMissyAllred. There is always room in our village, so if you enjoyed it, will you please send it to a friend or leave a rating and review? Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you for being here. I'll talk to you next week.